Well, welcome to this crash course on the Configure chair range. I think we called it a crash course just because I figured we'd try and go through quite quickly, quite succinctly, at a high level, the different chairs in our range, who they're for, who they're not for, and how to adjust them. So I think it should be 15, 20 minutes or so. At the end of that, you'll have an idea as to what chairs are there in the range, and as I say, what use are they for and how do we adjust them. So here are three of our most common chair products, and I think the camera will probably just beam out so we can see those. And many of you who are in community equipment services will be familiar with these. So firstly, we have the Configure Lite. And if you're in Kent, this is level 1 in terms of seating intervention. So that's the Configure Lite, and we can think about that as level 1. Then we have the Configure Comfort, which if you're in Kent is level 2. And then we have the Advance, which you can think of as the next level up. That, as far as Kent is concerned, is a special at the moment. So those are the three kind of chairs in the range. Those are the most common chairs, the ones we supply most to community equipment services. There are two other chairs which are not here. One is a plus size or a bariatric chair, and the other is what we call our porter chair. The porter chair is quite a niche product, so it sort of fits in between the Comfort and the Advance. So don't worry too much about that, but the fundamental point is these are the most common chairs in the range and fit into three quite nice levels. Level 1 being the Lite, level 2 the Comfort, and level 3 the Advance. So what I want to do now, with your permission, is give an overview, a little bit more detail, and to do that I'll go through 3 or 4 key areas. Firstly, we'll look at the mechanisms. That's really the crux of it all. What do the mechanisms do? Then we'll look at the size options, the pressure care options, and the posture options, and then we'll be wrapped up. So first of all, the mechanisms. Now this is really key because it really defines which user for which chairs. And it also relates quite closely to how the person is transferring. So when you are selecting a chair, it's really important to understand how does this person transfer, generally speaking. So let's show you how the mechanisms work. In the Lite chair, it is a static chair. With the Comfort chair, it is on casters. So we can move the Comfort chair within the room. It's not room to room, it's when the person is out of it and you can move the chair around within the room. And then the Advanced chair is on large casters for transport of the user room to room. So if you like, you have 3 levels of manoeuvrability, if you will. You have static housekeeping casters and then the transport casters. Now, both of these are riser recliner chairs, as is probably obvious. And now I'll show you how that all works. As the chairs go up, so both of these rise in the same way. It's probably worth, just while we're waiting for these to rise, to mention that the Advance does not rise, as you probably would already have guessed. The Advance is not a riser chair as such and is therefore for people who are hoisted. So basically what we're talking about here is for these two chairs, they are for people who are either ambulant or semi-ambulant or transferring with the aid of a stand aid perhaps, whereas the Advanced chair is very much for people that are hoisted. Now, a couple of really key differences between the Lite chair and the Comfort chair, now that you can see it risen up. Now I wonder if you can perhaps beam the camera down a little bit to the floor. This chair here has a bar across the front, as most recliners do, so you have limited access for certain transfer aids, whereas on the Comfort chair here, you have a totally open frame underneath. So that's really good for those transfer aids to be able to push them right underneath. Also, it has the ability to change the angle of the rise. So if you look at these sort of side on, you can see that the angles at which they're rising are a little bit different. Basically, the Comfort here is in flat rise, and this is quite helpful for certain types of muscular dystrophy users. Sometimes they need to sort of come off in extension. So having that ability to change the rise is quite useful, and it's changed with a couple of holes in the base of the mechanism. So if we're looking at what are the reasons for going for the differences between these two chairs, if you like, it's open frame underneath, casters and adjustable rise is the key differences between the Lite and the comfort. Now, as we go back, we'll drop them both down now, show you what happens there. Now, the Comfort has a 4-button handset and the Light a 2-button handset. So the Comfort is a dual motor tilting space and the Light is a single motor tilting space. Now we're going to go backwards on both of them now. Now at the moment I'm just engaging motor number 1 on both of them. So they are basically going to do exactly the same thing. Both of them are going to do the same thing, which is legs up and then tilt. So you can see now that both of the chairs, the legs have come up and then the whole lot's tilted back, like so, and that's using the first motor on both of the chairs. So what you're seeing there is essentially identical. Please come across. What you're seeing there is essentially identical for both those chairs so far. We're just engaging the first motor. When you engage the second motor, which is only an option on the Comfort, then you can recline all the way back like so. So that's another key difference with the Comfort chair as compared to the Light chair. So that is the mechanisms on those two. So kind of summarising that, it's open frame, casters, adjustable rise angle and dual motor are the differences on the Comfort chair as compared to the Light chair. So this is for the Comfort chair is really for a more complex client group, more complex in terms of the transfers, possibly need a little bit more postural management, that variation in backrest angle, whereas the Light is more for users who are going to be transferring themselves or with assistance. Right, let's just re-zero these. Okay, so hopefully that's reasonably clear about those two riser recliner chairs and their mechanisms. Now we'll move to the advanced chair and show you how that mechanism all works. Now, as we've said, it is a portable chair, so we can porter the person up and down a corridor, for example. It doesn't have a rise function, so this is as far forward as it goes. So you can see it's very different from the rise recliners. Those are for people with transferring independently or with assistance. These are more or less for people who are hoisted. Now, it is possible to engage 5% or 5 degrees of forward tilt on this chair for certain types of rehab scenarios, but that, again, doesn't make it a rise recliner as such. So then we have tilt. We have 37 degrees of tilt in space, so quite a lot of tilt when you compare it to similar types of product. And we have lots of leg rest elevation, and that's one of the key things we wanted to get right with this chair, is the degree of leg rest elevation, and also the fact that the leg rest elevation articulates as it comes up, because many chairs don't, you tend to get some cramping when the legs are elevated. So on this you get lots of height and lots of elevation or articulation, if you like. While we're at this height, I'll just show you that you have lots of padding here, so nice little padding under the knees, and to reduce the impact of any involuntary movements. You have an easy to remove foot plate like so, and hopefully that's a one carer operation. And you also have height adjustment as well, from 13 to 21 inches in the leg rest height. So that is the leg rest section. As I say, we work quite hard to get that right in terms of how much it comes up, how much it extends, and the amount of padding and the ease of taking the footplate off. And then on the back end you have Recline. That's what we call reduced shear recline, so it sort of follows your back as you go down, so reducing that sort of untucking feeling. And it's also possible to lock that out, so you have a locking mechanism here to actually fix the backrest angle at the angle of your choice, so that it doesn't get tampered with, perhaps unintentionally. So those are the mechanisms of the chairs. Trust that's made sense. That is the main thing, as I mentioned at the beginning, really. The rest of it is quite straightforward. The main thing is getting that understanding of the underlying mechanisms, so you then know which chairs broadly suit which users. Then we come to size, pressure and posture. Now, each chair has multiple size options, and I'll just give you a flavour of some of the adjustments that we can make. So just by way of example, the chairs have adjustable depth. If I can get it. So you have two backrest brackets on the chair, so you can select between 18 and 20 in the depth. Just pop this back on. We can also raise the chair, and when the chair is raised, we have an extending leg rest. So you can undo these thumb screws here and extend the leg rest to compensate for those extra tool users, like that. And so this adjustment applies on the comfort and the light too. So depth adjustment and height adjustment. And then we also on the comfort have width adjustment, so you can see the overhang on the armrest here is on the outside. What we can effectively do is rotate them so we can reduce the width between armrests. So just to give you the idea that there are different size chairs available, small, medium and large, and within those chairs, including the light and the comfort, is depth adjustment, height adjustment, and the comfort has this extra width adjustment as well. When it comes to the Advance, this is more or less a one-size-fits-all chair, and we have lots of adjustment in terms of width without changing the seat squab or adding any extra parts. So we can go from 16 to 22 in the width, and we can also adjust the depth from 16 to 22 as well, with a sliding lever here. So you really have quite a lot of adjustment. 13 to 21 in the height of the footplate, 16 to 22 on the depth, and the 16 to 22 on the width as well. So quite a lot of adjustment on the whole chair size there. The final two pieces I'll go through is the pressure care and then the posture. So we have, in a nutshell, high-risk preventative pressure care built into all our chairs, and that's through this viscofoam cushion here. So that's high-risk pressure care prevention, and then we can remove the core to increase that. So you can put your own dynamic cushions in there, or our dynamic cushions, and then you can accommodate up to, high risk, very high risk, depending on the cushion. So we don't need to add anything on the top. On the comfort and the Advance, you can probably see that the contact areas, armrest, backrest, are covered in the vapor permeable stretchy fabric as well. So a little bit more prevention there. Then coming on to posture, as standard, they all come with this waterfall design backrest, and you can then remove stuffing from the pillows to accommodate different postural presentations. You can sort of rotate them and change them around for to accommodate different presentations. Then you can kind of uplift the level of support that you have. This is our cocoon backrest, which has lateral supports, and each section has removable filling as well. So we have various options in terms of posture. Here's another one. We do them in matching fabric, by the way. There are others, but those that I've just showed you are the most common, and there are headrest options as well. Perhaps the last point I'll mention when it comes to posture relates to the Advance chair. We have an option on this where you can effectively take this backrest off and then replace it with a fingerform type backrest, for those more complex postural presentations. So if you had somebody that had fixtures, contractures, needed much more postural management, we can remove this backrest and fit one that does go up to those more complex presentations. So that's the end, more or less, of my little crash course on Accora chairs. Light, comfort, Advance for sort of low dependency, medium dependency, high dependency. Summarising the key points, mainly for independent users. This is for more intermediate needs. Open frame underneath, dual motor casters. This is just for people that are hoisted, and then we obviously have the size adjustment options, both different size chairs and adjustment within the chairs, high risk pressure cushions across the board, ability to upgrade, and then all sorts of different postural options. Now, if you ever needed a visit for one of these, we have full joint visit capability across the country, whether you're Scotland or Cornwall. So do be free to reach out to us if a joint visit would be helpful for your clients. So thank you very much for watching.